For the past 4 years, this chamber has been dominated by Labor.
This just gives more exposure to just how pathetic they are on the other side.
Occupying 53 of the 59 seats.
Premier, how can you boast of any significant improvements given there has...
This map of Perth shows the evolution of WA Labor's total control, from opposition in 2013 to winning power in 2017, and then the 2021 Labor landslide. It's what the Liberals warned about in the days before the last election.
With too much power, Labor will go too far and make any law they like.
The opposition says it's exactly what's happened.
We have seen regional representation removed. We have seen debates guillotined in the interest of gross self-interest.
Largely, Parliament has functioned like it always should. However, there's always instances where governments can't help themselves, and certainly there's been debates that have been curtailed, legislation that's been rushed.
Labor's historic second term has been economically prosperous, marked by low unemployment, high migration and multi-billion-dollar budget surpluses.
They just keep walking, charge on through.
They've been effective, they've been dominating, and they've been busy.
But some say Labor could have done more with its total control.
We still have children that are hungry, working families that can't afford a roof, people making choices every day, increasing demand on homelessness services. I mean, why do we have a strong economy if we can't address some of these things?
Nobody would deny that the investment is unprecedented. What we haven't seen is that sustainable funding for frontline specialist family and domestic violence services. They are the bedrock of our response to family and domestic violence in Western Australia.
Premier Roger Cook, welcome to Stateline WA.
It's great to be with you.
We're in the Legislative Assembly, where your government has enjoyed unprecedented power. 53 of the 59 seats in this place are Labor's, and most governments would kill for the kind of power and wealth you've got, and yet we still have a housing crisis in WA. How is that?
Well, what we're experiencing is, I think, is a post-COVID period of imbalance in our market. That's impacted housing markets right across the world. But for us, it's exacerbated by the fact that we are getting record population growth that's growing with our strong economy. So we need to continue to make sure that we're growing the supply of housing in our community. We've done that through our $3.6 billion investment, which will build 2,600 homes, already 1,000 underway or completed. We need to boost supply. Now, there's a whole bunch of ways you can measure that, but one of the key ways we do this is by looking at the impact on the rental market. So in September, we had a rental vacancy rate of just 0.7%. Today, that is 1.9%, so it's improving.
I think it's 1.7% in November, but it's still a rental crisis. You haven't been able to fix the rental crisis in the second term. How will you fix it in the third term if you win?
Well, you don't click your fingers in these situations. You grow the industry sustainably. This year, we saw housing completions at 18,000. That's a record. We haven't done that since about 2016. So we are starting to see strength coming back into the housing industry market. That's through regulatory reform, through good investments by my government, but it's also through bringing the workforce into the state so that our housing industry can respond to the demand.
What about stricter restrictions on the short stay accommodation market?
Well, we've brought in incentives to bring more homes out of the short stay accommodation market into our long-term rental market. That's seen an improvement of about over 300 new homes coming onto the rental market. Now you say 300 is not many, but that's over 10% of the current stock which is available through our rental market. So that's a significant improvement.
But there are more than 10,000 listings on Airbnb versus, a third of that many available in the long-term market. So do you need to look at further restrictions on short stay?
Well, we understand that short-term rental accommodation has its role to play as part of the spectrum of rental opportunities within Western Australia. But we don't want it to overwhelm our long-term rental market. That's why our incentives boosted supply by over 10%, and we'll continue to make sure we monitor the situation.
You've spent over $1 billion on cost of living. Electricity credits, for example, they've been welcomed. But what happens when all of those one-off measures dry up after the next election?
Well, what we're hoping for and we're expecting over the medium term is that you'll start to see global inflation under control. You'll see national inflation under control, which will see a reduction in interest rates in Australia. That will take a lot of the pressure off Western Australians who are currently struggling with their mortgages or other expenses.
Nearly $12 million on free zoo passes, museum passes. Is it a sign of a government with too much money that's run out of ideas?
No, we are making sure that we make responsible decisions. The hallmark of my government has been to improve the state's finances. That's led to us now regaining our AAA credit rating, a feat that no other state government in the country has managed. So by managing the state finances carefully, we're in a position to now give back or invest where we need to.
You've basically had a blank canvas in this term thanks to the iron ore price. Are you worried about your choices being dramatically narrowed in a third term if that iron ore price tumbles?
Well, no government which respects the state's finances has a blank cheque, regardless of how much money might come in for a period of time because of a high price of the iron ore or other minerals and resources. We know that there will continue to be shocks to the system. The best way we can manage those shocks is to look after the state's finances, but also to diversify the economy to make sure that when those future shocks do come, that we're in a position to ride those shocks through.
You were worried about a Trump presidency affecting the economy here. Do you still have those concerns?
Well, I have concerns about any trade war that might happen under the Trump administration. Our trading partners depend on our iron ore. They want to produce steel so that they can have products to sell abroad. So if there is a major trading war across the world, well then any export exposed economy like ourselves is going to be vulnerable to those shocks.
So how are you planning for that?
Diversifying the economy is the key way that we will do that. And what you've seen is the proportion of the economy represented by our resources industry actually dropped compared to the other sectors that we target as part of our Diversify WA strategy.
The diversification hasn't happened yet on a scale that would replace the iron ore revenue that this government receives. So in the next term, iron ore tumbles, what happens?
So for instance, what you want to do is to make sure that yes, you continue to diversify the economy, but you also look to our big economic drivers, which is resources and primary industries, and think, how can we add value to that? Green steel or green iron is going to play an important part of building that resilience into our economy. So we're not just exporting the rocks, we're actually adding value by producing precursor products for green steel, utilising our renewable energy. That's going to be an exciting opportunity for us going forward.
You'd have to tighten spending as well, right, if that revenue wasn't coming in?
Well, look, any government needs to make sure they cut their cloth to their needs. And that's why we've been so careful not to simply spend the money.
Is total control a danger to democracy?
I think our reforms to our democratic processes, whether it's more transparency around donations, whether it's around reform to the upper house, are important parts of making sure that we remain an important democracy for the Western world. Now, the people of Western Australia are my bosses. They're the ones that will decide what the government looks like after the 8th of March. Hopefully it's a government that I lead, and I very much look forward to engaging with the Western Australian community as we look towards the next election on 8th of March.
Premier Roger Cook, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for your time.